Greetings and welcome to Youth Perspective, an interactive show with the youth about some of the challenges they are facing. We also speak to the generation that came before them to find out how they can assist in the transition. My name is Masi Chaba Dlamini, and today we are talking the new phenomenon of slay queens. How exactly this comes about, what exactly does society think about this, and how we can engage the youth that are involved in this phenomenon. With me, I have an amazing panel that's here to help me further unpack this issue. We are also joined by a live studio audience. They will definitely be joining in on the conversation. I'm just going to turn to my panel and just ask everybody to introduce themselves.
I'm Jackie Pamwatz. I'm an author. Oh, I'm an award-winning author now.
Congratulations are in order.
Thank you. But my writing style revolves around social ills, and I'm a social activist.
Hi, my name is Mbali. I'm a co-founder of Millennial Mindset Media, and I'm passionate about young people.
Hi, my name is Alpha, co-founder of Millennial, as well as an artist.
Hi, my name is Tumelo. I'm a model.
All right. Just to start with you, Jackie, we know your book has been making waves for a lot of reasons why that was. When you started this, or when this idea came to mind to start writing this book, what was that seed that said this is a need?
I was not really even writing a book. I was in therapy, and my therapist said, well, are you aware that you are writing a book unawarely, you know? I've got scripts and scripts of your work throughout the month, and would you like us to go through it? And as I read her reports, I realized, oh, well, this looks interesting, because I've written all this stuff throughout my therapy sessions, and I was not even aware. And we decided, okay, fine, it's time to publish, because I had published the first book, I think, a year and a half prior to that, 2014. And she said, well, I guess it was your way of articulating your feelings and your views around social ills and what are the main growing trends. And in your therapy session, you sort of broke down your type of generation of people. And that's how it actually really began. And then a few months leading to that, we started actually putting it into an actual manuscript and documenting each and everything I was doing towards the actual release of the book.
And we do know that the book speaks about the fancy hotels, cars, money, girls, luxurious gifts, and. Can we just narrow it down to that? Speaking about our topic, or rather to our topic today, what exactly, in your opinion, as an author of Bay, does a slay queen do? What does it mean if you had to box it into an explanation?
Well, the definition of slay queen has really changed. From Beyonce speaking about hustling and the power that comes with the positive of slaying, which is acquiring a certain life that you work for. So you being the boss of what you're doing and killing that industry, whether it's law, accounting, or anything, but it's a profession that you are killing, slaying, right? But in this context, slaying is a different phenomena where now it's about makeup, you know, it's about the fashion, it's about the travel, it's about the people that you surround yourself with, it's about the secret societies that you're involved with, or the people that surround you that have a lot of power or influence. So you would find that a person would say, I'm slaying today. They would be speaking about a makeup trend or a hairstyle or even an outfit, more than a profession. Whereas now you will see that slay queens are depicted to be people who trade. Whether they trade their bodies, I can't really say they trade their minds, but because everybody has the right of definition when it comes to these kind of things, but it's vastly known that they usually trade their bodies in exchange for a lifestyle, whether it's for a handbag, a phone, travel. And we have just saw the Durban July, and we saw the outcomes of that.
The trends coming out of that. Everybody just coming out to the space.
So I think that's what it narrows that down to. You know, it's generally just the lifestyle and what that lifestyle can acquire for you. But it's really not about an actual profession.
All right, Mbali, your opinion on the topic slay queens. What's your take on this?
Yeah, I actually agree with Jackie Pamudze that the term slay queen has shifted from being a positive term to something that is negative. So now slay queens are now women or men, because there's also men, who actually gain a fancy lifestyle or privileges from having sex with men, or maybe not having sex, but spending their time with men. And that's what slay queen means right now.
And then I'd like to ask Dumelo, right? You said you're a model. Do you think the term slay queen is associated with somebody who still has their own money, but who can slay as well, in other ways that Jackie and Mbali have referred to?
Yeah, like I don't think to be a slay queen you have to sleep with someone. You can slay like Bonang. She's powerful and she's successful. She's a slay queen because she looks good to take care of herself. So to be a slay queen doesn't mean that you have to be like sleep with men so that you can get money. You can work and also be a slay queen.
Yes, yeah. And then to you, Alpha, with your organization, do you see more of this trend, and do you think it's a trend that can be rehabilitated?
Well, yeah, there is more of this trend, especially with social media becoming such a prevalent tool within our society. But I think the origin, the word slay queen, started positively amongst women, and then men came and hijacked it. And then when men started using the term slay queen, it was kind of a way to say the word be, that swear word, you know, it was kind of a way to say that, but not saying it directly. So now it's a derogatory term as opposed to a term of endearment. Whereas before it was like, oh, you a slay queen. Now it's like, yeah, these slay queens, you know? It's like, I think it really draws from misogyny and sexism within society, and that's something we need to fish deeper into, because that's the origin of, I feel, the whole slay queen phenomenon.
So my understanding, we see Instagram posts, we see this. One thing, I'm not sure if anyone here can be able to assist me, but why is it that Dubai is like the set place for slay queens? Is there something I don't know regarding Dubai?
Well, I can answer that. Apparently, this is like not facts. It's not allegedly, yes. Allegedly, there are wealthy people in Dubai, obviously, wealthy Arab men who pay certain Instagram famous models to come to Dubai and maybe participate in certain consensual, sexual, or maybe non-sexual acts, and that's why apparently Dubai is like the central hub of slay queens, apparently, allegedly.
All right, because I've noticed Dubai, and then there's the hashtag blessed.
Yes.
Jackie?
Remember how we used to go to church, and then after that you would say we had a good church session, you were blessed, right? And then you would find that celebrities would start hashtagging the word blessed as they are on a private jet or on a trip somewhere. And people started coining it as a form of assertiveness to say, I have arrived.
True.
So if somebody would say, I am blessed, hashtag blessed, they would post a bottle of champagne rather, instead of posting a family or a church or education or anything like that to say, I've accomplished something. But this is a term of arrival, to say, I have arrived. I'm at this particular place that you desire, that you probably would never ever see. I'm beyond you. You would find that other people would actually even go as far as beyond in saying, it's a vacation, it's a lifestyle. They will say hashtag life or levels,
yes,
or hashtag blessed beyond, and so forth. So it would give a person an illusion of some kind of privilege, that they are far beyond what the next person on the phone can see
or afford.
So that trend started trending late 2015 to say, okay, this is now the type of level we have come to, and you're still left behind.
Do you think, Mbali, for instance, slay queens or somebody who uses their body, sexual, whatever manner, is means of living? Because my thing is, there are people that do this because they say they have no other choice. It's a means of a lifestyle, but they actually feed their families and so forth. And then you'll find a normal girl who's working, but feels like, I can't afford hair for 5,000 rand, so therefore, let me do this. Do you think your background plays a role in this?
Definitely. I think your background is very, very important because I think a lot of things, like charity begins at home. You learn certain things from home before outside. So now, these people who are slay queens, they're also seeking validation from others because we go on Instagram to get what? To get likes, to get comments. And when you post that champagne saying blessed, you expect people to respond and say, wow, girl, you're flourishing, you're slaying.
Yes.
So I think if you have that validation from home, that's very, very key. And yeah, it's very important that you have a background that is, besides the money aspect of it, which is also one of the leading factors to slay queens. There's also certain things that our families, your social media, there's young girls that have access to social media platforms and they're constantly being fed the slay queens, this lifestyle. You know what I'm saying? So how are the parents at home monitoring what the kids are receiving on a daily basis on their social media? And that is important. And I think your home plays a huge role in the whole thing of slay queens.
We know that men play a big role in this. As much as women, some of them voluntarily do it, some of them find themselves in a situation that they were not aware of going into it. You might have dated somebody because they have money, you like the lifestyle, but you're not so much into the know-how of the extent of this lifestyle. Understand what I mean? Probably this comes to the hockey club.
Yeah.
You find that you date this guy, he has money, he's affluent, and, but you don't know the extent of his desires or his fantasies, and you find yourself in this tug of war where you can't say no because you actually like him, but the extent of what he wants, you know, how's that like? What would you refer
I'll make
to?
an example. During the festivities at the Durban July, a lot of people had the perception that they would go to the race course and go to a hotel or go to Ayadin and have fun. But the people who had the influence and power and had the accommodation had their own ideas on how the night or the weekend will turn out. And you'd find that young people would say, okay, I can get myself to Durban, but you will need to accommodate me for the 2 or 3 nights that I'm there. But you're not just asking for accommodation because that person has their own agenda with their friends or with a group of social friends. So they would say to you, okay, I can accommodate you, but when it comes to this, you will have to have, for instance, an orgy. You'll have to go the extra mile. And sometimes people are introduced to sexual cults that they're not even aware of. Or they're used in a cult, vice versa, and they're not even aware that whatever sexual activity they're performing is actually a cult more than you just having normal sex. So you would find that a young girl from Johannesburg who is eager to go to Durban for the very first time accepts this invitation to go to the Durban July or whatever festivity. And when they get there, they are given alcohol. Obviously, that's what they want. That's what they're there for. They're probably even given drugs. And in the midst of that, they are forced into activities that they have not condoned or given consent for. So because they are in that environment, it's difficult to say no when somebody that is paying most probably for your accommodation or flights or even food or even the alcohol that you are
consuming, blessed on.
Then they end up doing all these things. But going back to the question of Dubai, Dubai is a very high economical central power gateway, if I may put it that way. And it's easier to go to other countries where you're in Dubai. And people find it as a central shopping place when you go there, right? But one thing that people don't know about Dubai is that it is culturally driven. It's very religious. And most of our culture and sexual cults come from colonization. And it's easy to get information when you're there, because they use both Christian, Jewish, and Arabic, right? So, so when you're there, it is easy for people to pass on anything of any Western European, Asian, or even American traditions to you. So girls that would leave Johannesburg or South Africa and go to Dubai, they would have in their mindset that we're going to have fun, we're going to shop or anything like that. But you would find that I've spoken about this a couple of times, that there's different harbors for the hockey club, and they do it in different places. It's not really just located in Bryanston.
Yeah.
People who have money have private jets, have helicopters, have houses everywhere, and they use each and every tourist attraction venue to really lure people
To
in.
execute their idea.
Desires.
And another thing, I think for me, just to interject there, there's a high level of human trafficking within this lifestyle.
Yes.
Dumelo, you're a model.
Yes.
You know, traveling should be one of the things you do as per your occupation. Is it something that you are aware of and look out for to say, okay, I have a modeling gig in Durban or Dubai, wherever? What's the extensive nature in trying to make sure that this gig is legit, this and this? Would your agent have to do that? Do you do it? Are you on board with it? How does that work?
It's a very difficult to find out, like, if, like, this gig is legit, you know, because, like, people are out there trying to, like, using all the ways to get us. So most of the times, the agency do the work.
Okay.
So, because that's, like, I think it's safe when they do it.
All right.
But I also do some research. So, and then you find out, like, when you have to go somewhere, you are not comfortable because, like, especially if you don't know the place. What will happen there? Is it legit? Like, what will happen to me? So it's just like, it's not a safe thing. Yeah.
Alpha?
Just to add to onto what everyone is saying, I think it's also important to not always put women in a position where we're always like victimized or victims, because at the same time as women, we do have agency. And there are some women who willingly go into this and want to do it.
True.
They are aware of the risks and they are okay with doing it. So it's also important to not see things from a unidimensional perspective where it's like, this is wrong and you are being oppressed. But what if I feel empowered by being a slay queen? Who am I to tell that woman, like, no, don't do that because it goes against my moral code?
Yeah,
But at the same
definitely.
time, it's her truth and I don't have the right to tell her to do whatever, you know, to do something else with her life.
Just to add on to what she's saying, I think about a month ago, there was this whole scandal on Twitter and Instagram about how some certain personalities on Instagram are selling their friends and their friends don't know, and they're just saying, let's go out to lunch. There's a friend of mine who wants to take us to lunch, but you get there and everybody else on the table is on the same page except you. For me, that's a problem because then it means that that same woman that I am trusting is willing to put me in a compromised position. What does that then speak about for you, Tumbali, to women? What does that mean if you're my friend and you take me to a place where you know that in any other normal circumstance, Maschaba would not do this, but I'm going to take her there under the impression that it's just lunch?
I really think that society has like shifted to being something else. Like also with the whole social media thing, we've become so superficial. You know, we've become so driven by money and the lifestyle that people are willing to compromise their friends. You know, they're willing to sell their friends for a specific lifestyle or a specific thing that they want to get. So, yeah, it's a bit of a challenge because I don't want to say that, I can't always say it's men, because they are women who are also part of this culture and are also selling their friends unwillingly. So I think, it's a big problem, and I don't know what to say to it, but I really think that it's a societal problem. And it's because of things like social media, capitalism, and people just wanting the good lifestyle without having to work hard for it.
True. Do we have anybody from the panel who would like to join into the conversation?
I'm Jabu Sibi. My problem as a parent is that social media brings out these things as it's cool to be a slay queen, because we've got kids who are exposed to these phones and they go on social media. We don't know most of the things that they see there. We see people walking nude these days and it's like they're slaying. So that is our problem here in South Africa, that those things are like, they are in. It's an in thing to walk naked, you know, like they could book people just like Uzodwa. You know, she's making money. She's making a lot of money, you know. So kids will take, you know, some kids will look up to her and say, no, I'll rather do what she's doing and not go to school and have a lot of money and donate and do things, and they publicize these things. So,
thanks. I think also need to ask the question, the issue of the slave queen, is it a new thing? In the past time, you know, was there such a thing as the slave queens? I think yes, it has always been there. Maybe a different terminology, but it has been happening. And it has been happening, you know, I'm glad to learn or there's a positive here now, those women who find themselves independent, not depending on men to, you know, to feed on their clothing and pedicure, manicure, whatever that they find or no, they need to suit, beautifying themselves. But I think in the older days, it was done in secret.
Yes.
People were feeling ashamed when doing it. But now it's like it's okay to do it. It's like it's wow to do it. They get praises for it. I think that's where the problem is. Let's do what we find comfortable. People will argue and say, why is it a big deal if what I'm doing is about me? It has no harm unto other people. But it creates a moral degeneration unto others. You know, and I think the media also plays a part in promoting this.
Definitely.
It should not expose these things when they happen. I think the media must be shy also about exposing such things, so then we can create a moral fiber that is good.
I definitely agree with you in the sense that media plays a role in it. However, I think I beg to differ on the media exposing this, or because I think the media has a very huge responsibility in informing, educating, and keeping everybody on par as to what is happening. If it's something that is happening, the media is, in my opinion, the media is obligated to show it. We might not show it in such an extent that is meant to be a good thing or to make somebody almost yearn for it, but definitely broadcasting it and educating people about it and speaking about it is definitely important. So I think, just coming back to our topic, I think I'm going to pose this to all of you guys on the panel. How hard or how easy do you think it is for a slave queen to get out of that life? Alpha?
Firstly, I just want to mention the point that why do we always judge the women in the lifestyle, but not the men who provide the money and create the industry? There's no industry without a demand, you know. So why don't we look at the men and say, hey, you're a married man with 5 kids. Why are you doing this? Why do we always look at the woman who maybe is in some sort of financial situation, or we don't know what she's going through, and now she has to, you know, participate in this lifestyle? It's always blaming the woman rather than looking at the problem itself, which is the men who provide the demand.
I think for me, in that perspective, is that the man who is married and has 5 kids just posts the champagne. The girl has to post her body, her. So the lashback is not so much about, are you drinking a 2.8 bottle of champagne? Why is your whole body sticking out?
But isn't that her agency?
Might be I think that might be the part that makes people generally uncomfortable.
I think, well, as a feminist, I believe that it's really none of my business what another woman does with her body. So at the same time, I don't quite agree with that viewpoint.
Can I just interject? Can we go back to the foundation of the profession of prostitution? Because it's the oldest form of profession.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter how we glorify it or how we quantify it.
Definitely.
This is prostitution, whether you like it or not. You can coin it a beautiful name. You can give it a different definition. You can paint it as beautiful as you possibly can. However, there is a trade here. You know, whether you trade your time, trade your body, or you...
Whatever you're trading, you're giving honestly, something for something else.
I'm speaking from a person who has lived, who has written, who has researched. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
A man who has a family, has a wife, has a career, would not necessarily take an 18-year-old and seek legal advice from that person, or information, or ask for any kind of
relevant
business
advice.
You're understanding me? So a man with that type of stature who's probably 45, 55, 60 would not necessarily just ask you to be with them for 7 days just to stare at you and give you a bottle of champagne. There must be an agenda. There must be some form of trade. Whether it is, he just says, okay, sit here, I just want to admire you. There's going to come a time when there's a breaking point and a trade has to take place, a sexual trade in that manner. So for a child who is 19 or even 21, because young adults take a lot of time to mature, they don't have the mental capacity to say, listen, I'm not here for you to do that with me. But because they are prone to this lifestyle and they're in it and they're in that environment, it's difficult to dictate what you will do and what you will not do.
What you won't do. I think that gets back to my point. How hard is it, or how easy is it, in your guys' opinion, that is, this is not fact, this is your opinion.
It's very difficult. It's very difficult because right now you have painted a life that is not, that you don't own, right? So you've posted a car that you don't own, a house that you don't own, and clothes and so forth. Number two, sometimes you get to fall in love with this person. There's feelings attached, there's hopes. This person painted a life for you that they said, okay, in 6 or 8 months we'll get married, I'll leave my wife, I'll do this, I'll do that. So you have a hope of an actual life.
Okay.
And then sometimes you know too much. So you get to a point where you are in this person's life and you know how they deal with people, you know how many people they've killed, you know their business transactions, you know they loopholes.
Definitely.
And you know too much. And sometimes they do kill you to make sure that they secure that information. So it's not as easy as people think that tomorrow I'll wake up and leave.
And leave this
It doesn't
lifestyle.
happen that way.
Bailey?
Yeah, I think it's not as easy. I wouldn't know. But I think it's not as easy because there's a lot of things that are involved. Also, keeping up appearances is kind of what makes you stay because people are going to ask you, "Bazothina bantu," when I leave.
Definitely.
And now I'm not having that lavish life. I'm not slaying anymore. So it's going to be a challenge.
Okay, Alpha?
Yeah, I definitely agree with what Mali said. I can imagine that it's not an easy thing to walk away from, a lavish lifestyle that you want to live. So, yeah.
Yeah, it's not going to be easy, really, because like you are used to that life of having everything that you want, looking good, going to places, and then you're going like to go back to where you don't belong, and then like you won't be like comfortable.
And it's also psychological because sometimes people get to pass on STDs and others have babies and all of that. So walking away from somebody who has infected you, who probably is even telling you that nobody will ever love you again, nobody will ever
It's more of an
want
abuse
you.
even.
It's abuse.
Definitely.
Even. So there's a lot of aspects to this whole lifestyle that we allude to think there is.
All right. Just one last comment from our audience.
Getting back to the point where she said you find yourself in a situation where you have to do this because you're in places. But I feel like as an individual, you put yourself into such a situation because if you don't, if you know this man is older than you, this man is, when you're young and 18 and then a man that's 48 years old, you know the man is married. So you put yourself into the situation, you obviously, automatically, you're going to know that this man wants just one thing. So you put yourself, but sometimes it comes back with parenting again. Your parents, you sometimes don't have, some kids don't have the support from their parents, where their parents actually support them with these things that you end up not knowing anything and doing it because of media now, because your parents are not guiding you. So I believe that parents can also play a huge role in this, because if you have a relationship, a bond with your mother or your father, your parents, if you have a bond with them, then they've lived, they know, so they can guide you through a lot of things. You don't have to go do this just to get that, just get expensive hair, expensive makeup. If you have a bond with your parents, then you get guide from, so sometimes it's also the parents that just don't have a bond with their kids and they don't guide them through some things they're going to come across in life.
I do agree with you because some parents even molest their daughters and sons. So,
Okay. Love them or hate them, slay queens are here. However, the trend is definitely hurting our society. We definitely need to take more urgency into this situation. This has been yet another interactive conversation with the youth and the generation that came before them. From myself and the team behind the scenes, thank you for watching. See you next time.